So, good afternoon, dear participants of online workshop. Glad to be with you again. My name is Elvira Rахметова and I am a teacher of English at Nazarbayev Intellectual School of Astana. So, before creating my lesson and before providing my lesson, I had some questions. Can students give each other meaningful feedback? So students are supposed to have speaking activities to develop their speaking skills, and I had this kind of question because they are going to work in pairs and in groups, and they will give each other meaningful, and they will try to give feedback each other. The next question that I had: to what extent do the resources I picked fit with the topic and give students enough information to share their ideas? So here I thought about the text that I chose for this lesson, and can they help them to get information to share their ideas and develop it further? So the first activity that I wanted to provide in my introduction part is watching the video, but unfortunately we couldn't upload the video. But you can get it from the sites where we will upload our resources. So in the video there is the world, which is linked with different lines through the air, through the land and through the sea that we have on our planet. So and the students should try to guess how the topic of our lesson by guiding questions. So we may have the following questions: what do you think the video is about? What do the lines mean? So there will be a lot of lines and they have to think about them. At first they can think that the topic might be internet connection, because there are a lot of links, as I told before. So by asking guiding questions, we will lead them to connection, and then to connection of people face to face, how they connect to each other by seeing each other. So in this case they will tell us that they can see each other by means of transport. Why do people need to connect to each other? In what ways can they do it? How many forms of transport can think of that you have used? So when they tell you that the topic is transport, so you can ask this question: and what type of transport do we use in Kazakhstan exactly? So at first they will try to tell different types of transport and then exactly our local means of transport. I suppose that students will get different answers because students are from different parts of Kazakhstan, and they will from horses and from camels till planes and other different transport. So then in introduction part also they have to read a short text quickly. They will be given a passage about transport and they have to underline all the means of transport they can find. And also there is information about the history of transport, a little information. So students write the means of transport from the text that fall into these categories. So, and also we should remind them that means of transport might fall into more than one category. So that could be public, old-fashioned, having a driver, and also the means of transport that do not travel on land. So after this we will try again to have some discussion, and according to the requirements of CAA, we know that we have 4 parts in CAE speaking part. So they will try to work in pairs And also students will be shown 4 pictures from which they need to choose 2 of them and speak about similarities using adverbs. So on the previous lessons we tried to learn adverbs, how to use them, the position of the adverb in a sentence, and each student will be speaking 1 minute only. So also there should be stopwatch, and I would like to show the stopwatch on the board so students will know that their time is limited and they will try to follow the requirements. Here we have the images that I am going to show them, and also the follow-up direction. I would like to tell them in this way. I'd like you to talk what about these images on your own for about a minute. Then you will answer questions briefly about your partner's pictures. Compare 2 of the pictures and say what different aspects of transport they show and how the people might be feeling. So I think that the direction will be clear for a student. They don't need to change their places, that will take some time. They will just have a talk with their partner whom they are sitting with. So let's go further, and here they will choose 2 images that they have to compare. They can talk about holidays, how people choose means of transport for traveling, and also they can talk about getting quickly to somewhere by using a plane and by using a car. And also here we can see a lorry, and also they can talk a lot about carrying luggage, carrying different things that we need in everyday our life. So that could be lorry and the car, so that could be the train. And also we can see a lot of people in the images, in the image number 2 and number 3. So there are a lot of things that they can speak about that will be according to their own life experience and that according to their background knowledge. So the main part here will start from reading. So in this case they will be given 3 paragraphs that are taken from different texts. So students need to choose the most appropriate heading for each paragraph. Students will match the sentences that express a similar idea with the extracts. So here we need to revise how should we match the headings with the text. Just quickly revise the method that we usually use. So for the first paragraph we have the following headings: careless driving, danger on 2 wheels, don't ride bicycle. So here we see that we can have some problems because of the transport and because of riding bicycle. Next, the second paragraph and its headings: the ship of the desert, help in times of danger, taming the natural world. So that should be also suitable. I think that is a good passage for our students because we also have in our country desert, and they are aware of that, and they are aware of the transport that they are using, that people are using in this place. The third paragraph's headings are too many travelers, too many buses, too many cars. That shouldn't be very difficult for students, but they have to think before choosing the heading. First they will choose on their own, and then they will try to compare it with their partners and try to find the right answer. After which they will try to compare it with the group. So from individual work into pair work, so from pair work into group work. The next one, also the task according to their reading, post-reading task. Here students are given different sentences and they have to link them to the passages that they are given if they have a similar idea. Again, here we see different issues that we may have within the country or outside the country, because we should take into account local means of transport and global means of transport. And we have to know what kind of problems we may have and we are having nowadays, and what are the ways of solving these problems. The next one, the number of cars on the road will increase if we give drivers a better road system. Ferry passengers must be made aware of the emergency procedure. So usually we also use transport in emergency cases, and here they will get some information for the following activity that they are going to have according to speaking part. The next one, keeping alert is a problem from those who spend their working lives on the road. Delays at certain times of the day can seriously affect commuters. That is also one of the serious problems. People go abroad more now because commercial travel has become more affordable. So while discussing also these sentences and while matching them with the passages that they read, they also try to compare it with the situations that we have in our country. That will be very good for them to try to connect it with our country and try to get more information, more ideas about it by discussing it together. So the following activity will be speaking, that is part 3 according to CAE exams. This activity is going to be in groups of 3 students. So from the given extracts, students should find different spheres. So according to the passages that they read, extracts that they read, students should find different spheres in which people use transport. After that, they should in pairs discuss one of the topics using adverbs. They will check each other by a teacher-made checklist. So I will show you checklist later, and in this case students are going to work in groups of 3, and while one of the students is going to observe them and is going to work with the checklist, other students will have a conversation. So in the activity at the beginning of the lesson, they try to speak on their own, and in this case they are going to have a conversation. So here we have a checklist. First, they need to state an opinion using different words. Here we have some examples that we practiced during the class. In my opinion, the way I see it as far as I'm concerned, if you ask me, and also asking for an opinion, then what's your idea? How do you feel about that? What do you think? So these kind of questions, of course, they can ask other questions, and the student who is going to observe and who is going to give feedback will take into account it and also will take notes. The next one is expressing agreement. So sometimes we agree with our partner, and sometimes we disagree, and in this case also students should know how to use phrases appropriately. That is so true. Absolutely, that's exactly how I feel. You have a point there. The next one, expressing disagreement, I don't think so. I am afraid I disagree. That's not always true. That's not always the case. I think that it's good for us to check them with the checklist, with the exact phrases, because after having practice, they will try to use it in everyday lessons, in everyday speech. The next one, interruptions. Sometimes students interrupt each other and they are not using phrases, but here we have phrases like, how I add something here, sorry to interrupt, but, and then they will continue their idea. And also here we have a special space for adverbs. We learn different adverbs that they can use in their speech, and the student should write here what adverb is a student using. So as you see here, we have a column for student A and a column for student B. Students will have, each group will have for a conversation 4 minutes. Again, stopwatch will be shown on the board, and also they have to follow the directions. And here we should tell them beforehand that there should be only one student who is talking all the time. They have to speak equally. So since they are going to work in groups of 3, so during the first conversation, one of the students is going to observe them. During the next conversation, they will change their groups. So they will be able to listen to different students. They will also get some experience by listening to them, by observing them, and also it's very useful. Students try not to do mistakes of the students that they observed. So the next one, and here students will be given the question that you can see in the middle. What are the advantages and disadvantages of using transport in different spheres of our life? First, they need to find the spheres in which we use transport. And they have to identify it from the passages that I gave them while reading. So according to those passages, the answers might be traveling, environment, work, leisure, security. So they will try to find advantages and disadvantages, so pros and cons, and then they have to tell what are the requirements of embassy according to these all spheres, according to these all topics. So that will be really good to develop their critical thinking skills. And also after having their conversation, they will have 2 minutes to get their own feedback. So for having conversation, they will have 2 minutes, for getting feedback 2 minutes, and also overall they will have for the first conversation nearly 6 minutes, and that will be provided 3 times. I suppose that they will improve their speaking skills exactly how in the way of stating opinion, asking opinion, expressing agreement, expressing disagreement by how to interrupt them, in what way, what phrases to use, and how to use adverbs. So the next thing that I wanted to tell, I would like to go back to this speaking activity that we provided. So in this part, students are going to work individually, turn by turn, and then I need to ask what they told each other, what image they chose, and what is the significance of that, how is that connected with their experience, what adverbs they could use while having a conversation, to this part, because they're trying to do everything that will lead to their main part of speaking. So and here they will try to show all their gained knowledge, and since we discussed together it at the beginning of the lesson, in our introduction part, after reading part, and also they share their ideas, and also they try to do everything to get enough information to make inference, to draw conclusions from information, to try to connect it with their own life. And also, what are the requirements of embassy? That is the important question, because we have a lot of tourists. We have the embassy in exactly in each big city, and people from other countries also should know how to use transport, and what are their requirements for using transport. In this case, we will try them to brainstorm on it and try to find solutions for improving disadvantages of using transport in different cities. And also, traveling is an important topic, because we are living in the capital of Kazakhstan, and also we have a big city like Almaty, and since the summer is coming, they will try to apply their knowledge. They will try to predict what kind of situation is going to be. We know that every year we have a lot of tourists, and we need to provide them with different transport that will be appropriate for going to different places, for seeing different sightseeings. And in this case, they will try to have a specific problem, and they will try to solve it. So that will be problem-based situation. Environment. What kind of environmental issues do we have? Again, in the text and in our city. Work. So usually in big cities we have a traffic jam. During the rush hours we also have a lot of cars that are causing different problems, and we do not have usually enough time to get to our work, and we are late. So in this case, how we can solve it? So they can tell us that we can have different roads for different sites. That will also depend on their own experience. Leisure. So for spending our time, we also use different transport that is according to the wish of the student and according to the person that is using. Security. So for security, they can speak about policemen, what transport they are using, and also they can speak about ambulance. They can also add some other information that we do not know about, that we didn't think about. So the topics are wide, and I suppose they will try to have a really good conversation. And also, this topic will help them to apply their knowledge in using adverbs. So, by giving feedback, they will try to finalize their conversation. They will try to give meaningful feedback. And if you remember at the beginning of the lesson, I had some pre-reflection questions, and how I solved my issue is I created this checklist because I was not sure that students can give each other meaningful feedback, but according to this checklist, they can give each other meaningful feedback. So the following question was whether my resources that I chose for this lesson are suitable or not. So I suppose that they are suitable because they gained a lot of information from that. They compared, they tried to brainstorm, they developed their critical thinking skills, and also we will go back to our objectives of the lesson, and we will see could we achieve the objectives of the lesson or not, and try to discuss it. But actually I think that we achieved the aim of the lesson. So that is the end of the lesson. Thank you. Thanks for your attention.